Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast. Time to hashtag everything. We talk about all the fun, crazy stories on social media, from Instagram to Facebook, Twitter to Tumblr, or probably even Friendster. Join us each week as we explore the quirky side of social media. It's the Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast.
It's simple, such a sad song. The one that we rely on to get us.
Thanks for tuning in to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Hey there, I am your host, Kayla Moeller. How was the weekend for everybody? The sun in the Bay Area here is going to start coming out more starting this week, which is awesome, so I can spend a lot more time outdoors. But I'm definitely going to have to wait a couple of days because I laid out yesterday for a few hours, and oh my goodness, I totally got sunburned. I wore sunscreen though, but I wore the spray kind, and I think that it was kind of running out. So when I sprayed myself, I was just spraying air rather than product. So I think that's what happened, because my burn is really weird. It's not consistent at all. But oh well, it'll turn into tan. I'm really pale, like translucent, but I'm a redhead, so that's why. And yeah, so hopefully this will give me like a nice little base tan for the summer that's coming up. And speaking of outdoors, guess what tomorrow is? Earth Day. What an awesome day Earth Day is. I love it. And tomorrow is a especially special Earth Day, because it's the 50th anniversary. So we started celebrating Mother Earth 50 years ago. Very cool. So what can you do from home to make a difference? How about going for a nice little social distancing walk and bringing a grocery bag with you, and you can just pick up litter that you see along the way. And better yet, maybe bring two different bags. Have one for trash and one for recyclable items. So like if you see a water bottle, it's obviously recyclable, so you put it in your little recycle trash bag. And then if you see a lollipop wrapper, then pick that up and put it in the other bag. Just simple little things. And if you can't get out of the house, then you could take a look at the endangered species list, pick an animal to educate yourself on, and then bring awareness to it. Turn your thermostat down like a degree lower. Start a compost bin. The earth is so important, and we really need to take care of it. Our current behaviors and lifestyles just aren't sustainable in the long run. We need to make a fundamental change as a human race. The earth, it can't adapt to us anymore. It's hurting. So it's up to us to adapt for the earth, which is something we are fully capable of doing. We're just choosing not to because we're choosing convenience over our planet. And that needs to stop. Humans are the superior species. We're smart, adaptable, capable. We are complex thinkers, problem solvers. We have all the tools and the means to take exceptional care of the earth. So we need to just do it. We need to sacrifice some of our conveniences for the benefit of the entire planet in generations to come. And it's a parallel to what we're seeing right now with the coronavirus. We have to give up some of our freedoms and conveniences for the greater good. We need to stay inside to keep people healthy. We adapted our lifestyle to contain this virus. Although it is temporary, look, we're still doing it. And it will, in turn, benefit us all in the long run. The more people who alter their lifestyle, the better the outcome for all of us. And that's how we should be looking at our climate. Humans are not the issue. That's not what the problem is. Humans are supposed to be here. We're supposed to be on Earth. We are a natural species, a type of animal. We are supposed to be here. The issue is the lifestyle that we've come up with as a human race. We are always looking for the easiest, most convenient thing. Most people would 100% choose convenience over quality. I mean, me too. I'm guilty of all of this as well. But I'm acknowledging it and I'm actively trying to do better. And that's the first step. Everybody needs to acknowledge that the lifestyle we're living and the system that we have come up with as humans is just not sustainable. We need to make a fundamental change as an entire species. We need to take a step back and adapt to what our Earth needs. We can do it. There just are a lot of people out there who are way too into their freedom and their individualistic needs. And, you know, there's people who don't believe in climate change or they don't care because it's not going to affect them because they're going to die before the repercussions come. And that's really selfish. But these people need to care for the sake of humanity. And freedom is wonderful. Yes. And being a responsible person who makes an effort to live a more eco-friendly lifestyle doesn't have to infringe on your freedom. Would it kill you to look up the recycling rules in your area? Would it really be that bad if you took an extra minute out of your day to clean out your used up cream cheese carton so it can be properly recycled? I mean, that's what I'm saying. These little lifestyle changes can make a difference if every single person does it. If every single person got on board with proper recycling techniques and that was deemed as the norm, it would definitely make a difference. If everybody was on board with public transportation and that was the norm everywhere, then we would have it. That's what's wonderful about America. It's up to us as a people. If the people want public transportation, then we get it. But the thing is, it has to be everybody. And then if that's what everybody wants, then that's where our tax dollars are going to go. And it would be, you know, to implement more public transportation, improve what we already have. It would get cars off the road, CO2 out of the air. But the catch is we have to make a change. We all have to agree to do this. A big fundamental change. And these are just a few examples. There's obviously a lot more, but I guess I will get off of my soapbox. But if you want to hear about what's being done, then you can join in to hashtag Earth Day Live, which is a 3-day live stream featuring stories and performances to address the climate emergency. There's like so many people coming to talk about it. And there's still more people being added every day. For example, Al Gore, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. There's just a lot of people who I personally would like to hear from because they're kind of on the front lines of leading the charge in addressing our climate emergency. So check that out if it's something that interests you. Even if it's not something that interests you, you should still check it out because it's important. It's going to be playing from the 22nd through the 24th. Okay, break time. Coming up, I will be talking about these protests popping up around the country to reopen everything.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Hey there, I was just talking about Earth Day, which is tomorrow. I challenge everyone listening to this to do one kind thing for the Earth. If it were up to me, we would have Earth Day once a month. I said how humans need to give up a little bit of their convenience for the good of our planet, which is what we're seeing right now with coronavirus. We're giving up a lot of stuff right now to keep our neighbors and communities safe, so we should take that logic and apply it to our climate. Which brings me to my next topic of these people who are protesting the lockdown right now. Everyone was doing so good. Staying home to benefit everyone and yourself. And now the selfish people are coming out of the woodwork because it's not happening to them, so they don't care. Well, I don't have corona and no one I know has it, so let's go back to work. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. And the whole reason you don't see it is because of these rules and changes we made. It's working. These people are gathering in big, huge mass crowds, most of them not wearing masks. They're not social distancing. They're just absolutely disregarding the rules. They're standing shoulder to shoulder with these signs and they're angry and carrying weapons. I mean, what is going on? Really, what are these people thinking? How selfish can you be? Do you not think that we all want to reopen? Do you think that we all like sitting here not being able to have human contact or do our jobs or do anything fun? No, of course not. Everyone wants this to be over. Everyone. But the way for this to be over is to freaking follow the rules. We can give up a little bit of our freedoms to fight this, to keep you safe, to keep me safe. Kentucky had a protest at their capital, and now they are reporting a huge spike in cases. Kentucky was doing really great. Governor Andy Beshear was really doing a good job. He had a lot of stuff under control. And now these idiot people are going and having these protests, and now the cases are not contained like they were, and there's so many more cases popping up everywhere right after these protests. These people are not going to understand until it happens to them, which now it's going to, and they'll get it and it's going to be too late. So it's definitely some karma there, and and that's sad, but it's also detrimental to society because these foolish protesters are still members of the community who are going out to grocery stores, going out to gas stations and other essential businesses, and they're infecting people who have been following the rules and haven't been protesting. It's extremely unfair and extremely selfish. How do these people not see how dumb they look? And I know I'm being harsh, but I don't really care. If you're protesting, then you are selfish and dumb. And guess what? That's my freedom to say that. You can do what you want as long as you're not hurting others, right? Well, what these protesters are doing is hurting others. It's not your right to go out and punch someone in the face because it's against the rules, immoral, and hurt someone. Going out in clusters during a pandemic is not your right because it's against the rules, immoral, and guess what? Hurting others. How selfish do you have to be to think it's fine to reopen everything when we have not yet seen a downward trajectory in cases or proper testing? There are rules and guidelines to things. Everything. That's why we have laws and governments and borders in the first place. And these protesters preach that in all other aspects. Police brutality? Well, they should have respected authority and followed the rules. Well, look at you now. You're not respecting authority just because you want to go out and eat a cheeseburger at your local restaurant. Do you see how dumb that sounds? It's not profit over people. Ever. Profit, money, time, borders, these things are literally not real. They are social constructs that we created as humans to function as a society. But if you take all of those things that I listed away, you know what's left? Humans. But if you take the humans away, then you have none of those things. The thing that is actually real are humans and human lives. That's what's important. Our economy is going under, yes. It's extremely unfortunate and is going to be devastating. It's already devastating. But what's more devastating is losing real people and real lives. We can rebuild. We are resilient. We can do it. But I don't want to rebuild and do these things without people, without everyone. I want everyone to be here to rebuild. I don't want any more lives lost. And these protesters are the type of people who can't think outside of the scope that they see with their eyes. They won't see until it's happening to them. And they're all waving around Trump 2020 flags, of course. It's completely undermining all of the progress we've made as a whole collective peoples. It's a slap in the face to healthcare workers. Like, you know what? I'm going to blatantly disregard everything you've done because I care more about profit and my freedom of going down to the local Cracker Barrel than I do about you putting your life on the line every day to go help these people who are sick. And then we've got our president tweeting things out like liberate Michigan and other states like some freaking lunatic. I can't even take it anymore. These people are carrying weapons. For what? You're going to shoot the lockdown? You're going to use your rifle to shoot away the virus? Are you going to shoot someone who tells you to stay inside because it infringes on your freedom? Put your gun away, people. You look like heinous monsters. Just follow the rules like you preach to people of color. Listen to your own advice then. Follow the rules and respect authority. It's the fastest and most effective way to get back to normal so you can have your freedom back and I can have my freedom back. And then we can all go down to the local Cracker Barrel and eat. And on social media, there are viral photos of healthcare workers standing in their scrubs in the way of protesters' cars to block them from attending. They are very powerful images, and there's also video of it as well. It's of a healthcare provider standing silently with his arms crossed in front of a truck with a woman hanging out the window dressed in USA gear. She's holding up a sign that says, Land of the Free. She yells at the healthcare worker to go live in China if he wants communism. What? What is she even saying? It's ridiculous at this point. I feel bad for people whose brains can't comprehend this. Like, how grateful I am to not be that woman. I mean, wow. It doesn't even seem real. Like, it all seems like something out of The Onion. You know, that parody site that makes outlandish claims out of sheer satire? It literally seems like The Onion is writing life right now. One sign said, give me liberty or give me death. Well, okay. I mean, that would be fine if it were just your death, if that's what you choose. but other people don't have that same opinion. And then they don't have a choice if your recklessness gives them the virus. We'd rather give up a little liberty temporarily for survival. The issue is contagion. You can quite literally have death in this case, if that's what you want. Like, okay, sis, by all means, if you're serious about give me liberty or give me death, then keep doing what you're doing and keep protesting. But it's not just your death. You're contagious and affecting others in your community. And would you really rather be dead than stay inside for a couple months of your life? Give me liberty or give me death. That's crazy ironic. I am shaking my head right now. Okay, anyways, coming up next, I'm going to talk about Shake Shack, that burger chain. They set a great example, and I think that it should be highlighted. So I'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hi. I was just talking about protesters and the chaos they're causing and danger they're promoting. Even Facebook is removing posts about protests or events being held through Facebook to meet up and protest because they are against social distancing rules and guidelines. So they're getting taken down, which is good. It's just not safe to be doing these protests. It's not safe and it's stupid. Okay, remember last podcast how I talked about Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, and how that's where all the money is going, and it's supposed to be for small businesses, and I said, well, that's a different issue, because I was talking about cruise lines at the time. Well, now I'm going to talk about that different issue. So this program, it's called PPP for short. It's a loan program designed to help small businesses right now during the corona crisis and helps keep their employees on the payroll. Great thought, right? Yes, wonderful. If it were to actually be doing that. But instead, a lot of the money has been going to big corporations and chains, and now all of the money has already run out. And they aren't accepting any more applications. So there is $349 billion that was allocated to this program. And a lot of it went to chains that have enough cash on hand as it is. It's not to say that these chains don't need money. Everyone needs money right now, but they aren't in dire need like all small businesses are. So many small businesses have gone under and are going to go under. And if they could have gotten into the PPP, then they would still be here. But instead, this program is extremely flawed, and loads of the money went to places like Shake Shack, $10 million to be exact. And the steakhouse, Ruth's Chris, received $20 million from this, and Another steakhouse chain, J. Alexander's, received over $15 million. And there's a lot more companies than that too, but I'm not going to sit here and list them all off because my point with this is to highlight Shake Shack. They are trending on Twitter right now because they announced that they received a $10 million check from this program and they're going to be returning it. The chain is publicly traded. It employs over 8,000 people, and it was able to raise additional capital from stock investors. So they are giving back the check so it can be used for actual small businesses who are about to go out of business forever without it. These small businesses, most of them need only like 20 or 30 grand. Not millions of dollars. So that $10 million should be able to help out a lot of small businesses. Small businesses matter just as much, if not more, than these big, huge corporations, and they deserve to be here. These are hard-working American people. And Shake Shack definitely did the right thing, and they said, you know what? There are other actual small town restaurants who really need this money a lot more than we do. So let's give it back and help them out. And that's great and awesome. That's exactly what they should do. And that's what these other chains should do too, like the steakhouses that I mentioned. As to how these places even got the money, I have no idea. The PPP was literally implemented for small businesses. The program was drained of its money in less than 2 weeks. $349 billion gone in less than 2 weeks. Do you know how much money that is? And no wonder it went out like that if they're just giving out 20 million, 10 million, whatever to these huge conglomerate businesses. I don't understand how these places were even eligible for this program in the first place. And that's the $1 million question right there. How did this happen? Everyone on Twitter is asking this question. They're like, yeah, great. Shake Shack should give it back, but how did they even get this $10 million check in the first place? And I can't find the answer to it, but if I do, then I will let you know. And yet another bizarre money situation is the oil prices. For the first time in history, the price of a barrel of oil went negative. The problem is that the U.S. is running out of room to store our oil. The demand is down because of Corona, so not as much people are using it up, and now it's just sitting there. We're really used to going through it quickly and restocking, but that's not what's happening right now. So our tanks are completely full up with more deliveries coming. Oil is already being stockpiled and stored in any nook and cranny they can find, and they are just running out of places to put this oil. It's even being stored in barrages out in the sea, and those are full up now. So the price, it fell to negative dollars. So it's essentially like these companies are paying people to get it off their hands because they have so much oil. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to put it. I'll pay you to take it from me. That's what it's like. It's costing more to deliver and store the oil than the commodity itself. So somebody on Twitter kind of gave a good example, like if the dairy industry is down or like farmers have too much milk on their hands, but the cows still need to be milked. Like cows need to be milked. So what they do is they milk the cows and then they just pour it into the ground. But so we still have the oil coming, but we have nowhere to put it. And like, you can't just pour oil out. Like that's just not how it works. So that's why it went down into the negatives. And there are places in the U.S. where a gallon of gas is under $1. Under $1. And I just got gas the other day here in California, and it was $3.19. Cheaper than usual, definitely, but still over $3 a gallon. That's kind of a lot. I'm sure now, because this was before the oil prices fell into the negatives, so I don't know what the gas prices are now, but I'm sure it went down from $3.19. And the cheapest gas prices in the country, it keeps fluctuating between Kentucky and Ohio. And those people can literally fill up their tanks for like $14. That is insane. $14 and you're good to go. All right, next up, I'm going to be talking about 420, a nice little holiday as of recent. So stay tuned.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Hi, welcome back. I was just talking about the Paycheck Protection Program meant for small businesses and how Shake Shack received a $10 million check from it and is returning it so the money can be put towards actual struggling small restaurants and businesses. I also talked about oil prices and how the price of a single barrel fell into the negatives for the first time ever due to extremely low demand during this pandemic. Now, let's slow things down a bit and talk about good old 420, the National Smoke Weed Day. Twitter is trending hashtag 420blazeit and hashtag 420 from home. People are pretty bummed out that they can't meet up with their friends for the holiday. At _CurveJ tweeted, 420 ain't the same when you can't meet up with the squad. Hashtag 420blazeit. Yeah, so see, protesters, even potheads aren't meeting up and even they know better. So go home. And from the popular Twitter account Weed Thoughts, they posted a photo of a cartoon blunt that says retweet to pass the Twitter blunt as a way to virtually pass a blunt and follow quarantine rules. Okay, and now why is 420 the code for marijuana? Where did it originate? I had always thought it was the police code for pot back when it was illegal. But guess what? That's not the case. 420 has never been a police code for marijuana, like, ever. I saw an article from Times being passed around on social media, and it turns out the actual origin of 420 correlating to smoking weed was because of a group of high schoolers in the 70s right here in the Bay Area. So a little group of stoners from San Rafael used to meet up every day after school at 4:20 p.m. to smoke weed and hang out. And they called themselves the Waldos. And that was the time that they chose because it was after school. But if one of them had practice or something to do right after school let out, they'd be done by then, by 4:20, and it was like the best time for all of them to meet up and smoke their pot. So they started using 420 as a code word. They'd pass each other in the halls, and they'd be like, hey man, 420, which was like, okay, hey, we're meeting up today, so don't forget. Or they'd be like, hey, got any 420? Meaning, got any weed? Or do I look like I've been 420ing? As in, man, do I look stoned? That's funny. And then the term kind of took off from there. It spread through their school and then spread far and wide amongst deadheads. And by the end of the 70s, that was a regular, recognizable name for marijuana. And it's been that way ever since. Magazines started using it. High Times started using it, all that. So that was an interesting little tidbit of information that I didn't know. And while I thought it was from a police code, other people did too. So I started reading through comments on Twitter, and some more 420 myths are that it originated from the Bob Dylan song called Rainy Day Woman, number 12 and 35. And 12 times 35 equals 420. And in the song, he chants about getting stoned. But that's not it. But it's a clever guess. And then another idea was that 420 refers to the number of chemical compounds in marijuana. But that can't be true because the correct number of chemical compounds is 315. And another idea was that April 20th is the best time of the year to plant marijuana. But that is also not true. All interesting theories, but I guess we have the Waldos to thank for our widely used 420 term that has now turned into a national holiday. Well, it's not officially recognized as a holiday, but it might as well be. Everybody knows that April 20th is Smoke Weed Day. And actually, if you think about it, this is 2020, so April is month 4. So the whole month of April is 4/20. Get it? And something funny is that the bill to make marijuana recreationally legal in California it's like Senate Bill 420. And nobody knows who named it that or where, like, who the person was behind it. Nobody can figure it out. So that's hilarious, whoever did that and kept quiet about it. And if you're not a smoker, or maybe you prefer drinking over marijuana, then Mila, or how do you say it? Mila, I think it's Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher have your back. And it's for a good cause. The couple has come up with what they're calling quarantine wine. They posted a really cute video to social media together announcing the release of their new wine. 100% of profits will go to charity that will directly benefit COVID relief. They were totally flirting with each other in the video, and they were really upbeat and happy, and it was cute to see. I absolutely love that they met on That 70s Show, were a couple in the show, and then ended up together. It couldn't be any more perfect. And what's also good is they said that they really did their homework on what charities to donate to. They vetted them to make sure that the money would be going to the right places that could actually make a difference. They said they had the idea because they've been doing a lot of virtual double dates or virtual hangouts with friends, drinking wine and eating food together. So they thought this would be a great, fun, and safe way to raise funds for COVID relief. And also, everyone is drinking a lot of wine during lockdown. I mean, me and my mom and my cousin have been going through a lot of wine since we've been stuck inside. And the label is pretty cool too. It's just like a blank white label that says a toast to in small letters at the top. And then you can write in whoever's name you want. Like if you're gifting it to somebody or if you have someone special in your life that you want to toast to, you can write it in yourself. And then the bottom of the label says quarantine across it. They partnered with Knocking Point and already have pre-orders going. So if you're a wine lover like me, then definitely look into that because we are drinking wine anyways, so it might as well be for a good cause. It's a great idea. I love to see people using their platform for good. Plus, Mila and Ashton just seem like such lovely people and enjoyable to be around. It really was a cute video because you could just tell like they didn't like practice at all or anything. They just kind of like talked about what they wanted to say, and then it was very real and down to earth. All right, break time. Up next, I'm going to talk about Tiger King, but for a reason that you might not expect.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. Jordan and Keith is Entertainment Tonight meets Access Hollywood.
I'm Jordan. The guy laughing, that's Keith.
Yeah, I'm Keith.
An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Hi again. I was talking about 420 and how its name originated. It turns out it's from a group of stoner kids in high school in the 70s who smoked after school at 4:20 p.m. all the time. And I also talked about Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher's quarantine wine they are releasing to raise money for COVID charities. Now let's talk about Tiger King. Again. So get a load of this. Tiger King co-director and executive producer Eric Goode owns a suite of trendy Manhattan hotels and restaurants. Some of the workers he laid off amid the coronavirus outbreak are pleading for help, according to BuzzFeed News. They leaked the story and it's all over Twitter. So basically this guy, Eric, is a total rich man who owns a bunch of upscale hotels and restaurants, and his restaurants are in NoHo in New York, and they're super trendy and popular and make a lot of money. And he sold an interest in his property last year and pocketed $60 million. Just last year, the guy pocketed $60 million on top of what he makes from his hotels and restaurants, and now on top of what he's making from Tiger King. So this guy is very wealthy. He's an artist turned entrepreneur and is totally wrapped up in his Hollywood fame. And he seems to not be caring about his laid off staff at his restaurants and hotels at all. This one guy who worked for him at his restaurant called B Bar and Grill, this guy worked for him for 22 years and he is seeing nothing from him. There are like 70 waiters and cooks just from this one restaurant who were laid off by him last month, and they've seen no effort to help them or anything, nothing. The employees are saying he has the means to help. He has the money and cultural influence to make a difference, and he's just nowhere to be found. And some of his employees are undocumented and have no access to government help, so they really need Eric Goode to step up and do something good. His rival restaurant owner, Danny Meyer, laid off 2,000 people last month too. Everybody is. But the difference is this Meyer guy started a nonprofit to aid his staff and literally donated his entire salary. Executives at his company are taking a pay cut. They've held an online auction to raise money for staff. They've been selling gift cards. And that is exactly what he should be doing. So the fact that the staff laid off by Eric Goode haven't even heard from him is a really bad look. Like really bad. Especially because he is also now immensely profiting off of Tiger King, the most popular docuseries out there right now. This guy has got to step up and do something. It's ridiculous. The ex-floor manager of that B-Bar restaurant wrote a letter to Eric Good on behalf of the whole staff asking for at least sick pay for 2 weeks for all the staff members, and that they feel like they're being abandoned in a time of need. That's all they asked, is sick pay for 2 weeks. 3 days later, they got a response from him, a letter saying that they were laid off. And so he asked for 2 weeks of sick pay because of this. And then he responded by saying, yeah, sorry, I'm laying all of you off. Bye. And he didn't even give them anything. He gave like some people a week of pay, or like for the remainder of the week, like they just got paid for like the extra 3 days that were still left in the week. But that's nothing. And then some people literally got nothing. They started a GoFundMe to raise money for the laid off staffers. They started it themselves because that's what other people have been doing around them, like other restaurants. But it's usually the owner of the restaurant starting the GoFundMe for his staff. But these staff people had to start it themselves. And it only has $1,500 in it. This guy, Eric Good, should put a cool mill in, if you ask me. I mean, what the heck is his deal? Most of his workers who talked to BuzzFeed have worked for him for years and years, and they developed like a relationship with him. And this man is really extremely wealthy. Like, I understand if he's struggling too or whatever, but he can't just throw his staff to the street like that. He really quite literally threw them to the streets. It's cruel. And it seems like most hospitality leaders in his area are stepping up and doing the right thing and helping their staff and showing them that they're of value and that they care about their employees. Eric Good needs to do this too. He wouldn't be where he's at right now if it weren't for his loyal employees doing all of this work for him. It makes no sense as to why he wouldn't want to give back to them during a crisis like this if he has the means to. It's selfish and disappointing. And I hope this gains a lot of attention because his reputation should be ruined from this. And I hope that he's forced into helping out his laid off employees. I don't care how he does it, if he's forced or not. It just needs to get done. Those people need help. Everyone needs help. I lost my paying job. I filed for unemployment. Most of my friends have too. These are trying times. But I still will never, ever, ever, never, never, ever protest this lockdown by gathering within masses to prematurely open America. I will never do that. Lives are way more important than anything. When we are ready, we will start to open back up. We just need to listen. We don't know what's going on, so there's no reason to jump the gun on things. We're all in this together. And the protesters are chanting about firing Fauci. Why? Then what? What has he done wrong besides having to carry the weight of this entire thing on his back? He's the expert. We fire him, then what? What do these protesters propose? Who do we listen to then? Donald Trump? He doesn't know anything, of course. He's not a medical expert. He's not a virus expert. Neither am I. You guys wouldn't listen to me. That's why nor he or I is dealing with this. Dr. Fauci is. He's the expert. There's no reason to fire the only person who knows anything about anything. And yeah, he's not perfect. And no, he's not doing some great, phenomenal job. He's definitely made mistakes. But he's all we've got. I was very angry when I saw hashtag Fire Fauci trending on Twitter. But then when I looked through the tweets, I was pleased to see that it was like 30% of people actually saying Fire Fauci and 70% of people saying exactly what I'm saying. Like, what? Fire Fauci? Why? That's dumb. So then I wasn't as angry because it still gets sent to the trend because the algorithm goes by words and they were still using the words Fire Fauci. But maybe if this administration didn't disband our pandemic response team back in 2018, we would have more people to rely on than just Dr. Fauci. Food for thought. Alrighty, up next, I'm going to touch on some cool space stuff. and also talk about that Bachelor spinoff that recently aired. I will be right back.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Hey again. I just talked about how one of the Tiger King producers is a horrible guy and is uber wealthy and owns several high-end hotels and restaurants and laid off his staff with no pay, nothing, and is still doing nothing to help them, even though they are actively pleading for help. So remember last time how I told you guys that I love space? Well, now on Twitter, they have this feature where you can follow topics that you like or are interested in. So if you like arts and crafts, then you can follow arts and crafts, and then you'll see a bunch of tweets about arts and crafts. And then if you like cooking, you can follow the topic food and cooking, and so on. So I follow space and astronomy. And I saw an interesting article about the Milky Way kicking stars into its outer halo. So basically, the Milky Way has all of these supernovas. And supernovas happen when stars explode and lose their mass. And these supernovas as a whole are exploding and scattering little mini parts of stars into its outer halo. And when multiple big stars die, like in these supernovas, the energy from it can put out gas from the galaxy that can cool down and turn into more stars. So they used to think that these smaller stars would enter a galaxy and then get broken down by the galaxy. And that's how some little stars would be kicked outside of the orbit. But actually now they see that like a lot of it, I mean, that's still happening, but that's how they thought all of it was. But now they're seeing that it's also happening from within the galaxy itself, like from these supernova explosions. The stars are being kicked out from the center. Like instead of stars wandering into the galaxy and then blowing up and getting kicked back out, they're getting kicked back out from the center. And then they're hanging out and forming new star things, like new star communities in the outskirts. I don't know if that makes sense, but I thought it was really cool. Okay, moving on. So, do you guys still watch American Idol? My dad likes that show, so I've kind of watched it a couple times, but they're doing something different because of the pandemic. They've decided to continue its season with at-home performances. Wild. The judges will also be virtually tuning in remotely from their own houses. Even Ryan Seacrest will still be hosting from his house. And American Idol is the first televised competition to continue things from at home. There isn't much information on the how quite yet, but I'm sure we will see soon enough. But then it makes you think, like, what about America's Got Talent or The Voice? Will they follow in American Idol's footsteps? Are they kind of just waiting idly by for someone to try it out first and see how it goes? Is American Idol the guinea pig? I respect them for taking the whole saying the show must go on seriously. And people shouldn't criticize super hard because at least they are trying, you know? So it will be interesting to see how things play out. So now let's move into that show that I was hating on last week, The Bachelor's Listen to Your Heart series, where a bunch of musicians fight for each other's hearts or whatever. Still haven't watched it. I'm trying to see if I can get the gist without having to watch it. However, my friend Lauren, who was also hating on it, but caved into watching it out of COVID boredom, says she was surprised and that it was actually kind of good, and now she's hooked. So maybe if she likes it, I'll be a bit more open to it, but it still seems like a stupid show to me. But anyways, let's see what social media has said about it. Okay. I just paused to look up hashtag LTYH, listen to your heart, on Twitter. And the first thing that came up was from @AnnaMarie_T16. And she tweeted, how it feels listening to literally any of these people sing. And then it's a picture of a guy with earphones, and the earphones are plugged into a trash can. Okay, so that was the first thing I saw. So things are not going great so far, but I'll keep looking. Okay, one guy, I guess, has the same jacket as Jed from Hannah Brown's season, who was also a musician. It was like his famous jacket that he wore like everywhere. And everybody hates Jed now. And remember how I said that somebody had said last time, like, oh, if only Jed had waited a couple seasons, this would be his time to shine. Because it was kind of obvious that he was on The Bachelor to promote his music career. Okay. And then after reading through some of this stuff, the gist I got was that the producers are doing a great job with the whole drama aspect. There's plenty of twists and turns and juicy drama, kind of like a train wreck. You just can't look away. But on the flip side, the singers and musicians or whatever are not that great overall. Apparently there are some trash singers. And a name that I keep seeing that keeps popping up everywhere in a not so positive way is Trevor. He seems like a leading guy in all the drama. But it's still nothing enticing enough for me to start watching it. But we'll see. I'm becoming more open to it, I guess. And previous Bachelor contestants like Big Mike and Tyler Cameron have weighed in on the show too. They've been tweeting about it. But especially Tyler Cameron, he's like pretty much live tweeting it. He watches it and he gets all into it, and he like called out ABC for getting new equipment. I guess they used a drone in some of their footage, and he goes, oh, geez, now you guys get a drone and get all the cool footage, because I guess they didn't have that back when he was on the show. So it's just kind of funny. Okay, that's all for tonight, folks. Keep your hands washed. And remember, it's Earth Day tomorrow. Please do one nice thing for our planet this week in honor of the 50th Earth Day. It doesn't even need to be anything huge. Just pick up a piece of trash or brush up on your local recycling rules. Because believe it or not, they are different in each place, especially state by state. I learned that when I lived in Kentucky for college. First of all, they didn't really recycle much over there, but I like to think I made a difference because I implemented recycling in a lot of places. I got all my roommates on board of recycling, and now they all have recycling bins. We recycled at my sorority house and stuff like that. But the rules for recycling were a lot different than what I was used to here in California, so I had to teach myself the rules there. So you can just go online and it'll tell you the rules in your area. Like, for example, in Kentucky, like if you get like a box of, I don't know, something frozen like bagel bites. So even though it's a cardboard box, it's not recyclable if it had food in it in Kentucky. So like the bagel bites box would be recyclable here in California because it's just like a box, it's cardboard. But in Kentucky, that's not the case. So then it would just be a waste for it to be in the recycling bin and make it harder to recycle the things that actually can be recycled. So just look up the rules in your area. and that will make a big difference as well. So thank you for listening to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Once again, I am your host, Kayla Moeller. And if you could do me a favor, subscribe to the show or write a review, that would be helpful. And don't forget to give us a follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.